Finland is the world's largest consumer of coffee per capita, by a wide margin over almost every other country tracked in the surveys. Norway sits in the top 3 right behind it, rarely falling out of that position year to year. Sweden isn't far behind either, rounding out a region that drinks more coffee, on average, cup for cup, than nearly anywhere else on the planet. And yet, Nordic countries consistently rank among the highest in the world for sleep quality, year after year, often competing for the very top spots with countries that drink only a fraction of the caffeine these same populations consume daily, without apparent consequence. A region that runs on coffee from morning to early evening, somehow still sleeping better than almost anywhere else on Earth. That is not an accident, and it isn't a contradiction either once you look closely enough. It has nothing to do with genetics, and nothing to do with midnight sun mythology, however tempting that explanation sounds on the surface. It has everything to do with what Scandinavians consistently don't do in the 2 or 3 hours between dinner and sleep, the quiet window most other cultures fill without a second thought, right up until the moment their heads finally hit the pillow. 15 of those things, starting with the one that ends up explaining most of the others once you understand it properly. Before we go on, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love seeing how far this story travels. And if you're loving it so far, join the family by hitting subscribe, because tomorrow, we've got something special lined up just for you. Habit number 1. Check a phone in the hour before bed. This isn't the standard advice about blue light, though that part is real. The more important issue is structural. There is no piece of content a phone offers that is designed to bring the nervous system down. Every notification, every headline, every comment is engineered to produce a small spike of engagement, curiosity, or unease. The wind down that is supposed to be happening in the hour before sleep doesn't happen, because the phone is preventing it neurologically. Astrid's phone charges in the kitchen before 9. Not because she read an article about sleep hygiene, because she knows what the phone does to her and decided she'd rather sleep. Habit number 2. Drink coffee after 2 in the afternoon. Given that Finland holds the number 1 spot for coffee consumption per capita on Earth, the irony here is genuine. The same culture that runs on coffee has a near-universal norm of cutting it off well before evening. Caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 6 hours. A coffee at 4 in the afternoon means half of that caffeine is still active at 9 or 10 at night. Scandinavians treat this as a scheduling matter rather than a willpower one. Coffee has its hours. Those hours end in the afternoon, and the evening coffee culture is filter water and something cold. Habit number 3. Eat the main meal of the day late in the evening. Nordic dinner culture sits noticeably earlier than much of Southern Europe or North America. A main meal at 5 or 6 rather than 8 or 9 means the body is not still processing a significant food load when sleep arrives. Digestion and sleep are both resource-intensive processes, and they compete when they're forced to run simultaneously. Eating late doesn't just shift sleep onset later. It degrades the quality of the sleep that eventually follows, particularly the early deep sleep stages the body depends on most for physical repair. Habit number 4. Use alcohol to fall asleep. This one sounds counterintuitive because alcohol does cause drowsiness. The problem is the sequence of what happens after. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep in the first half of the night, and the body's process of metabolizing it produces a rebound effect in the second half that fragments sleep at exactly the moment it should be deepest. Scandinavian countries have some of the highest alcohol taxes in the world, and state-controlled retail systems like Sweden's Systembolaget, which limits casual impulse access in ways that simply don't exist in most markets. The relationship with alcohol in Nordic culture is complicated in its own ways, but reaching for a drink as a sleep mechanism is not a habit embedded in it. Habit number 5. Skip the evening walk. Swedish has a specific word for this, kvällspromenad, literally, an evening walk. Not an evening run, not a workout, a walk. The broader Scandinavian relationship with outdoor movement, called friluftsliv, treats time outside as a basic daily need rather than a weather-permitting luxury. There is a phrase repeated often across Nordic countries. There is no bad weather, only bad clothing. Astrid's evening walk happens in October rain on the same schedule as it happens in June. The physical movement settles the body. Even dim outdoor light in the evening gives the circadian system a useful signal. The cold air in the lungs is not incidental. It does something. Habit number 6. Keep the bedroom temperature warm. Research on sleep temperature converges on a fairly specific range. Somewhere between 15 and 19 degrees Celsius is where sleep onset is fastest and sleep quality is highest. Scandinavian homes are well insulated against serious cold, but the cultural habit runs cooler than most. Windows cracked open in winter are common rather than eccentric. Warmth is for the living room in the evening and for the duvet once you're in bed. The room itself runs cool. This is also the other reason that separate duvets make obvious sense. You control your own temperature without negotiating anyone else's preference at 2 in the morning. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Habit number 7. Carry unresolved tomorrow problems to bed. This is practical enough to be worth being specific about. The act of writing down anything that is unresolved before getting into bed, anything that needs to be remembered, anything generating low-level anxiety, removes the brain's need to keep those items in active circulation. Keeping a mental loop running on a problem is how the brain avoids forgetting it. Writing the problem down closes that loop. A notebook beside the bed for this purpose is common in Scandinavian homes. Not a productivity system, just a parking lot. The list goes on paper. The brain is now free to let it go. Sleep becomes possible without the background hum. Habit number 8. Have a difficult conversation after 9 at night. This is a timing principle, not an avoidance one. Nordic communication culture is notably direct by international standards, but there is a practical understanding of when a hard conversation is likely to go well and when it isn't. A difficult topic started at 10 at night, when both people are tired, when emotional regulation is genuinely reduced by fatigue, is less likely to resolve productively than the same conversation at a reasonable hour the following morning. Difficult topics get parked with the same logic as unresolved tasks, not avoided, scheduled for when both people are actually equipped to handle them. Habit number 9. Fall asleep to background sound. A television left on as ambient noise, a podcast playing until sleep overtakes it. The issue is that the brain does not fully disengage from auditory input even during lighter sleep stages. Processing background sound consumes resources that would otherwise go toward the restoration that sleep is supposed to provide. A Scandinavian bedroom is quiet, not because silence is a philosophical preference, but because ongoing sound genuinely interferes with what the room is supposed to be doing, and Scandinavians have a fairly pragmatic relationship with things that interfere with rooms doing their jobs. Habit number 10. Let the weekend sleep schedule drift significantly from the weekday one. Sleeping until 11 on Saturday after waking at 6 Monday through Friday is common enough in most countries to feel unremarkable. The research on what it actually does to the following week is consistently inconvenient reading. A 4 or 5 hour shift in sleep timing across the week produces circadian disruption comparable to crossing multiple time zones. The term researchers use is social jet lag. Its effects on Monday morning alertness and weekday sleep quality are measurable and not small. Scandinavian sleep culture treats sleep schedules with the same instinct it applies to meal schedules, something that benefits from regularity over the long run rather than weekend exception. Habit number 11. Ignore daylight exposure during the day. This one is counterintuitive, because it is a before-bed habit that depends entirely on what happens hours earlier. Melatonin production in the evening is directly shaped by light exposure during the day. Scandinavians, who spend parts of the year with genuinely limited daylight hours, are acutely aware of this in a way that people in sunnier climates often aren't. Getting outside during available daylight is not framed as optional. It is treated as biological maintenance. Getting sunlight at noon is what makes melatonin arrive on schedule at 9. Skipping outdoor light all day and then expecting easy sleep onset by evening is asking the body to run a process it hasn't been given the materials for. Habit number 12. Take a very hot shower immediately before getting into bed. This one runs against popular advice, and the nuance is worth stating precisely. A warm shower or bath in the evening can support sleep, The timing and the temperature both matter. The body's sleep onset process involves a drop in core temperature. A very hot shower taken immediately before bed raises core temperature at exactly the moment it is supposed to be dropping. The more effective approach, and the one more consistent with Nordic practice, is bathing or showering earlier in the evening with a warm rather than hot setting, allowing 90 minutes to 2 hours for the body to complete its natural cooling before sleep. The fall in temperature after the shower is part of the mechanism. Habit number 13. Read content engineered to prevent stopping. There is a real distinction between unwinding with a book and choosing a book that does the same thing a phone does. A thriller structured so each chapter ending makes stopping feel impossible. A news digest designed to produce emotional reactions. Anything whose architecture is built around keeping you engaged rather than letting your mind slow down. The medium matters less than what the content is actually doing. Astrid reads in the evenings. She is not reading anything that was designed to keep her awake. The evening reading hour is for fiction that absorbs without activating. Something that moves the mind away from the day's concerns rather than further into them. Habit number 14. Rehearse tomorrow's difficulties while lying in bed. This is distinct from the earlier point about writing things down. That habit addresses unresolved logistics. This one addresses a different pattern. Actively running through imagined versions of a difficult meeting, a hard conversation, a stressful event that hasn't happened yet. The brain does not reliably distinguish between mentally rehearsing something stressful and actually experiencing it. Cortisol responds accordingly. Scandinavian bedtime culture is not particularly interested in positive visualization or motivational practice. The instruction is simpler: the day is over. Whatever tomorrow requires, tomorrow has been allocated for it. Lying in bed working on it early produces neither preparation nor rest. Habit number 15. Treat sleep as the variable that adjusts when everything else runs long. This is the principle underneath all 14 habits before it. Not a Scandinavian cultural concept with a specific name, just a positioning question. Is sleep a fixed appointment or a flexible resource? In a culture that builds evenings around a walk, around a coffee cutoff at 2, around a quiet room and a consistent wake time, sleep ends up protected by default. Not through discipline in the moment. Through a structure of small habits that makes sleep the thing the rest of the evening has been quietly building toward. The habits make it non-negotiable, so the decision never has to be made consciously at midnight. The thread through all 15 is identical. Sleep isn't the reward you collect after everything else is finished. It's the appointment the rest of the day is built around. That single shift in how the day is organized changes what the evening looks like almost automatically. That's our story. If you enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. And tomorrow, more stories are waiting for you. Thanks for watching.